He was here at 6:30 this morning to prepare for this invocation.
I got tired of staring at the ceiling at 4:30 this morning. Let's pray. Dear Lord, this is the day that you have made. Help us to rejoice and be glad in it as we go through our lives today. We're praying this morning as Rotarians, and we ask that you bless our leaders. Help us to live the ideals of Rotary today. Help us to always be mindful of those less fortunate, especially those that have been impacted by hurricanes. Please bless this food to the nourishment of our bodies and us in our service. Amen. Amen. Pledge allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And of the things we think, say, and do,
is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Tom, Mr. Wayne. Wayne.
Well, we have David McCoy here, visiting Rotary.
And he's a previous district governor.
Becky Phoenix is here as a guest of Tom Phoenix. Debbie Friedman claims to be from Summit Rotary. And of course, we have our speaker is Rotarian from Greensboro, Bernie Mann.
Okay, on the 17th of September, Bobby Christensen and Gail Stansel will celebrate birthdays. No singing.
I like these. All right, announcements. Mr. Foster's ready to go. So.
Good morning, everyone. As we know, I've finally figured out the sign-up genius and how that works. So I'm going to get another one put out today as soon as we get back to the office. But again, just for announcement, we are going to do the clean sweep on Saturday, 8:45. We're going to do the World of Beers. We'll start around 9, hopefully 9:05ish. We'll wait for some stragglers, but love to have more people the merrier. Quickly it'll go, and hard to wait the weather, but let's just say it's going to be a great day. Thank you.
We have a room for that, right? Yeah. That's just me. Well, that's how I taste them.
Deal. Other announcements. Well,
Two golf tournaments coming up. One is the 7690 golf tournament. I understand typically we get 4 golfers from this club to play. Not available that day, but I'm sure that we can make it happen. This is a golf tournament that's at Little River Golf Club in Carthage, Thursday, September 28th at 12:30. There's 2 divisions, a gross and a net division. Captain's choice with handicap. The other one is Tuesday, October 31st. This is the annual Kiwanis versus Rotary Challenge, and they will put a team together for you. I understand that you can't get enough guys from one club. The format is 2 better best ball, 2-person best ball. It's at Bryant Park Champions Course, and anybody that hadn't been there lately, I'm going to tell you, that place is in pristine shape. It is a fantastic place to play. The deadline to register for that one is Tuesday the 17th, and of course, both of them going for good things. The Rotary Kiwanis raises food for backpacks for Southern Middle School and Allen Middle School, and also Out of the Garden. So if you'd like to be involved, I'm going to pass these around, sign-up sheets. Those that have not done this before, we're going to start the sign-up sheet over here. Going to come back here to the back, across, and down to the front, and end up with Ralph. Okay?
Nice try, Walt.
Yeah, I'm wasting my breath. I know. We're going to start right over here with Chris. There you go.
all right, good deal. Football pool, first week.
Yes. So, we had 22 participants, and it was fun. So I can't wait to tell you what happened. First of all, I have to say, I think my newest favorite football player is J.J. Watts. I don't know if any of y'all have seen what's happened with J.J. Watts, but definitely something to talk about at work if you want to act like you know something about football and don't. J.J. Watts is with Houston. He set out to raise $200,000 for the hurricane victims. He raised $30 million. So, big shout out to J.J. Watts. So, here we go. Lisa Simpson, Danny Farley, you had 16 correct. You almost won our Dud Award. But we had Judy Brumbley come through with 13. So. Yes, ma'am. So, Dennis Newman, Gail Stansel, 19 correct. You both left 2 blanks. So, Ralph Jones, Mike Andrus, Tom Richardson, 20 correct. We almost had a perfect bracket or pool. And this is fun. First, let me give you our runner-up. Our runner-up is John Nosek with 21. And I didn't see him. Is he here today?
Not here.
Okay. Our winner. So, this is so exciting to me because it's Walt. Walt. Out of 25.
A lot of inside information.
Where did you pay for colleges?
Where did I what?
Where have you paid for ed colleges?
Wake and Elon.
Okay.
Every
so
time, baby.
I have to tell you something. You didn't choose Wake.
I know.
So yeah, it was fun. Everybody played this week, so we'll have another fun week.
Thanks, Chrissy. Good job, Walt. All right, Rotary Feud. Ready. I see everybody sits strategically places they think they're going to be avoided. I typically go to the big table, so all you guys are suckers over here. So based on history, Farley's always got to be in the game. So the Farley family and the Brumley family. All right. Well, I was going to have Judy, but since you're going to go, I'll do ladies first. All right. Name a reason someone might honk their horn at you. Name a reason someone might honk their car at you. Honk with a honk. Depends on where you are. Okay, intruding in the lane. I'm gonna have to go with ding, 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 cut them off. So, intruding. Red Sox. Too slow. I'll take it. I have to start wavering a little bit on my answer. And
Yeah, what do you let your turn signal.
letter. Doors open.
Like your zippers now.
Ding, ding, ding. We're still in the game.
Oh, they got it.
I'll just go over the answers real quick, so you know. There's cut them off, have been chosen, too slow, they know you, and then you got to play.
You slam on the brakes or the light turns green. Light turn green.
Light turned green, ding, ding, ding. Good job. I know, I gave you credit for it. Well, too slow. He said too slow, and I gave him that. No, it isn't too slow. The other answer was flirting. I'll give you another All right, guys, we've got a special presentation, always is. Okay. Mr. McCoy, you got nominated first.
Did I draw the short straw, Mike? Actually, I drew the long straw and appreciate being here again at the Gates City Club. I do want to question the 7 o'clock wake up on the feud game. I don't think too many people are really here. But it is great to be here, and especially given the opportunity to recognize another member of the Gates City Club for joining the Paul Harris Society. Currently, you have 12 members of the Paul Harris Society, and today you will have 13. Now 13 is an unlucky number, so I do have applications for Paul Harris Society, and what is that? Paul Harris Society is an individual who gives and commits $1,000 a year to our Rotary Foundation. And it can be done in any number of ways. As Mike knows, I've become rather creative on how to accomplish that. But simplistically, $85 a month can be handled through the club. You know, any number of ways it can go. Rotary Direct, where your credit card is charged. You can do a bank draft also. Any number of ways. But I really am pleased this morning to present Ralph with Paul Harris Society, and there's your certificate and your medallion. Which gets worn with your Rotary? Yes, it's in the car. It's in the car. I think we all know what the Rotary Foundation does. It does great, wonderful things around the world in our community. But being involved with foundations, I look at something else. How efficiently it is done. And when you look at Rotary Foundation, which consistently has a 4-star top rating with Charity Navigator, and 93 cents of every dollar that you contribute goes to programming. I deal with a lot of foundations, and I don't know of another one that has that kind of track record. Just recently, Rotary Foundation was awarded the Outstanding Foundation for 2017 by the Association of Fundraising Professionals. That is a high, high honor. And so when you look at where your money is going, what your current contributions are, think about the efficiency of the organizations you're working with. Rotary Foundation is right on top. Thank you.
Now, to put a little glitch in his programming, we forgot to do Happy Dollars. And I know,
Now, wait, let me do mine.
I knew he wouldn't allow it.
All right, everybody in favor of Happy Dollars? Everybody in favor of Happy No, I really was going to piggyback on that. Because I really have, obviously being 100% Paul Harris Fellow Club and maintaining that status and having so many that are in the Paul Harris Society, we have so many of our members that are not only Paul Harris Fellows, but they're +1s, +2s, +3s. And they're on the fast track to becoming major donors for our Rotary Foundation. So we've got a few of those folks. I got a big number here, but some of them are here today, and one that I want to recognize is Chip Person, who is a +4. So that means that Chip's given $5,000 to our Rotary Foundation. So thank you, Chip, for your wonderful support of our foundation.
Thank you very much.
And as plus ones, I have Dennis Newman and Tom Phoenix. So, are you here? Let's see. There's Dennis and Tom. Thank you, Dennis. Thanks so much for your support. And then I have one other. Bridget Ruggiero and I had been in this conversation, and Steve had made, she thought, just her kids Paul Harris Fellows before he was deceased. And it ends up that he had made her a Paul Harris Fellow as well. But she had not received a pin. And so, Bridget, you come forward. I have got your pin for you. And if only Mid-Middleton would come, I've got a +4 and a +5 for him. So next time it'll be a +4, 5, and 6. So.
He's definitely got his hands full. All right, let's hear the man's gonna brag about his trip for 2 weeks.
All right, happy dollars. The greatest thing was when Mike, when you announced that Tom had given it, and Becky looked back like 1,000. This explains a lot, doesn't it, man? All right, what do we got here? Dr. Tom.
Y'all are familiar, we are doing the Youth for Christ stew cooking on October the 7th. It's $8 a quart. It's money to be raised. We cook about 1,650 quarts. And we work at it pretty hard. For those who've tasted it, we think it's not bad. If you don't like it, blame me. I've been very responsible for about 20 years worth of it. It is gluten-free. Incidentally, we have the only gluten-free Brunswick stew in the United States. Literally working. We seriously take it pretty seriously. So anyhow, if anybody wants to buy tickets, they need to see me. We cook October the 7th. You pick it up that afternoon.
Right.
$8 a quart.
I don't know who started this tradition, but the senior class at my daughter's high school goes to Italy every year, and she's going this year. They go today for a week, so it's a big exciting time for her. And she's the official photographer for this thing.
I should make you the official photographer.
I don't get to go.
Chip. All right, we had a great practice cook. I guess you want the money, don't you?
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Hey, up front here.
There it is. There it is. We had a great practice cook for Hunka Burn and Rub barbecue team Sunday at my house. How many people participated? Raise your hand if you participated in some way. Oh, come on, let's get them up here where we can see them now. Come on. There were a few more. All right, well, we had a house full anyway. And so our next practice is October the 8th. That is the world's greatest meal to help Rotary raise funds to eradicate polio. And so I want everybody in the club to come out for that. We'll have enough barbecue. We'll have beef brisket. We'll have a side dish. I hope that Steve will cook that fantastic pie that he makes as our dessert entree in the thing. We're going to have a lot of food, a lot of stuff. So anyway, October the 8th, please put it on your calendar. That is a Sunday, and we'll have a big time. That it's not a home game for the Panthers, so you don't have an excuse. Thank you.
There's a little bonus coming next week that Chip's going to announce about the 8th too. So the 8th, just remember that. Chip Vale.
Oh, that way. That's it.
I'll be ready.
Well, I got one. You know, since I've been married and had kids, I've taken my wife to England, Scotland, Paris, all over the French countryside. We've been to Vienna twice. We've been to Australia. And at the end of every trip, she said, "When are we going to the Grand Canyon?" This is great. Paris is great, but I want to go to the Grand Canyon. So when I was thinking of selling my company, she was very tepid in her enthusiasm for it. And I said, well, you know, we could go to the Grand Canyon when I retired. And she said, all right, so, give it away. So we're leaving Sunday, and we're going to be gone for 2 weeks, so y'all are going to miss me for 2 weeks.
So did you put your dollar in?
Pardon?
Did you put your dollar in? Okay.
Yeah. So anyway,
Just want to be sure.
see y'all in 3 weeks.
That's awesome.
Well, remember the words of Grandpappy Lewis, who always told me, minds are like parachutes. Just because you lost yours doesn't mean you can borrow mine.
I'm so pleased to introduce Bernie Mann this morning. He doesn't need any introduction, but Bernie is the owner and publisher of Our State magazine. I'm just happy to have a visual up here. And this doesn't need any introduction as well, but I'd say Our State magazine is North Carolina's premier culture, travel, and history publication. It has won numerous awards. In fact, there are 2 Folio Gold Eddy Awards, industry awards that it has won for the best full-issue regional magazine. The Our State brand extends beyond the magazine publishing and includes television. Our State television show, which is a 16-time award-winning, Emmy Award-winning television show, it is produced on UNC TV. It includes content from the magazine and is a great show. Bernie has been very, not only has the magazine and the television show been recognized, but Bernie has been recognized and has a number of distinctions. I've got his bio here, but I would say 2 of them that really stuck out to me. Governor Beverly Perdue bestowed upon him the Order of the Longleaf Pine, which is a wonderful distinction, a wonderful recognition of his service to our state, our community. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the Charles Kuralt Media Award for promotion of North Carolina, another very nice distinction. Bernie has been very active in our community. He has served as the president of the Greensboro Rotary Club, the past president of the Greensboro Symphony, the past chairman of the board of the Greensboro Convention and Visitors Bureau. So he's been active and very generous in ways that he has served our community. Bernie earned his BA at Adelphi University in Garden City, New York, and attended Harvard Business School. He lives here in Greensboro with his wife Bobby. They have 3 children, 9 grandchildren, and you all may or may not know this. Our State magazine, Bernie just works 3 blocks from here. You know, we have a lot to be thankful for with the roots our State magazine has here in Greensboro, and I think you all have a lot to be proud of as well. Bernie, we look forward to hearing an update and a little bit about Our State magazine. Please give Bernie Mann a warm Rotary welcome.
Isn't that amazing? I mean, Chip does that whole thing without any notes. I don't think I can give my background without a couple of notes. You know, in putting my notes together for this morning, I came to realize that I've spent my entire business career buying and running businesses nobody else wanted. When I was in the radio business, I used to own radio stations, and I didn't have any money, so I would buy radio stations that weren't doing well and build them up and sell them and then do it again somewhere else and travel around for a variety of cities. And over the years, I owned 12 radio stations. And then the radio business changed, and it was no longer an entrepreneurial business, and it was now owned by large public companies. And so it was time to find something else to do. So I took a little office across the street here in Friendly Center and tried to find something that might be a fit. And for a couple of years, I couldn't find anything quite that would be working for me. And then someone offered me a chance to be a part owner of a magazine they were trying to buy from the man who owned it in Charlotte. And I know enough about myself to know that being a silent minority partner isn't a good idea for me. So I let that pass. And then for a year, this guy traveled around North Carolina trying to find anybody with money who would help him to buy the magazine and he never could do it. So after a year, the owner, who I had met by then, the owner called me and he said, hey, you want to buy it yourself? And I didn't know anything about the magazine business, and I still don't know a whole lot, but I saw it as one of the crummy radio stations that I would buy. Because it had 23,000 paid subscribers. It was thin as it could be, about 48 pages, and black and white, in a world in which color is the whole thing. And a small staff. And so I said, gee, I better find out about this before I move ahead. So I went to see Bonnie McElvey Hunter. Maybe some of you know her. Such a smart woman. And she gave me so many good ideas. And one of the things she said is, find out what the renewal rate is. Bonnie runs Pace, and it's a tremendously successful company. I said, okay, renewal rate. So she says the national average for renewal rates for magazines is about 33%. Well, the average for the state magazine was 87%, which was the number that was amazing to me, and of course is the number that I keep watching today to make sure that we have that kind of constant satisfaction. You can have 87% of your customers that keep coming back year after year. You're doing something right. And that's what we try to keep watching. So I thought, well, maybe I should move ahead. And I went to the staff and I said, folks, I'm going to buy this magazine and we're going to make it better and we're going to improve it and we're going to add a lot of nice touches. And they all looked at me and they were very gracious. And they all quit. So now I had a magazine, I didn't have any people. But, you know, over the years I have found that when you buy a crummy business, so often it is not the business so much, it is the attitude of the people. And so often it is the people who think, oh, that means I'm going to have to work harder. I don't want to work harder. It's not working harder. Working smarter. And so that gave me the opportunity to staff this magazine the way I wanted to, with the kind of people who I felt would make a difference. But it was very daunting for me because when I was in the radio business, people would send us music and we'd put the music on and we'd have a silly disc jockey say a couple of words and then they'd put more music on and that was the business. Now, I have a blank piece of paper. And what do you put on it that's significant, that makes a difference? There's 11,000 magazines in America. How do you set yourself apart? Or what we call, what is the burr of singularity? How do you make yourself special? Well, I had heard of a columnist for the Baltimore Sun by the name of H.L. Mencken. And Mr. Mencken was very sardonic, but he was often right. And he said, no one ever lost money underestimating the intelligence of the average American. And if you watch television, you know he's exactly right. And then there was Walt Disney. He said, I'm going to create an environment that's positive, that has clean bathrooms, and that people will look forward to coming to. I thought that was the way for us to go. So we established a magazine that to this day hasn't varied from what I think is the right thing to do. And that is to be totally, completely positive. We don't have a single negative word ever. If we review a book, we don't like the book, we throw out the review. We talk about restaurants, but we never review restaurants. We live in a world filled with so much negativity, it's just heartbreaking. And every single day there's bad news, and you think maybe tomorrow will be better, and tomorrow's worse. And I thought, what if I can establish something where you know you can count on 2 to 2.5 hours of nothing but pleasure? My wife and I love to go to the movies, and we come out after spending $25 and we look at each other and we say, I'm not sure we had such a good time. But I know if you spend time with my magazine, you're going to have a good time. And that's our mantra each day, each effort that we put forth. When I looked at the 23,000 paid subscribers, which is the only asset, Chip is the banker, so you know about assets. And when I looked at it, I said, well, now, we don't have any assets. I mean, I've broken down desks and chairs, but that's about it. That's why banks don't like to loan to magazines. But the only asset was the 23,000 paid subscribers. But here's the funny part about that. In 1933, this magazine was started by Carl Gertsch in Raleigh. And from 1933 to 1941, he was able to get 23,000 paid subscribers. Now, from 1941 to 1996, when I bought it, it was still 23,000 paid subscribers. Now, I'm not sure it's the same 23,000, but it hadn't grown. And as I checked around, I found that there was very little visibility for this magazine. Here it had been around for 60 years or so, and nobody knew much about it. So those were some of the challenges. How do you become more top of mind? How do you get more people to send you money? One of the interesting things is the fact that when I tried to find ways to make the magazine positive, I found it wasn't that hard. For example, we do a story on the Eno River. And it was interesting that the very month that we did that story about the Eno River near Durham, the Greensboro News and Record did a story about the same river. Their story was about the dirt and filth on the shoreline of the Eno River. Our story was about the river keepers who are trying to make the river pristine again. Same river, it's just what's the spin on the story. One of the most gratifying things to me was several years ago, I got a phone call, and I don't have anybody clear my phone. Anybody who wants to talk to the publisher should be able to get right through. So this man calls me, it's about 2:30 in the afternoon, and he calls and he says, my name is Mark Bassanite. Well, I don't know him, but I knew who he was. He was the president pro tem of the North Carolina Senate. And he says to me, I just want to call and tell you that I had a terrible morning, filled with frustration, filled with difficulty. And I came back to my office at noon to grab a sandwich, and your magazine had come. He says, and for the last 2.5 hours, I've had my feet up on my desk, I've been reading your magazine. He says, and I just called to thank you. He says, I feel so much more energized, so much more in love with my state, and I just want to let you know about that. Wow. What a thrilling thing for me, that it had that effect on Senator Bassanite. Part of the responsibility, I also feel, is the fact that, as you may know, North Carolina history is taught in the 4th and the 8th grades. And so we're very careful, not only about the stories, but about the advertising. I can control the stories, it's a little harder to control the advertising, but we do the best we can. So we have some rules. We don't take any hard liquor advertising. We don't take any spa-type advertising. We don't take any lottery advertising. I don't know whether the lottery is good or bad, but we just don't take it. And then the most painful of all is we don't take any political advertising. Robbie, I'm sorry. Political advertising is mean-spirited, it's terrible, and I don't want it in my magazine. Now, here's the painful part. They don't come with a check. they come with bags of money and cash. And I can't tell you that I don't need it. But I can tell you this, that it deteriorates my magazine. And so we have to stand tall and we have to say, hey, this is not right for us. But when you see the amount of money that's spent on television and in newspaper and in billboards and all of that, it's just almost obscene. But that's for them and that's not for us. Now, as far as controlling some of the advertising, we've had a situation in which we did have a spy ad. We're very careful with spy ads, but this was a spy ad. And so I called the guy and I said, hey, thank you for your ad, but it shows a little bit too much cleavage. And he said, fine, I'll get you another ad. And that was more tasteful and we were okay with it. So then I had a beer. Starts with an M and ends with an R. And the beer ad was a picture of the Hatteras Lighthouse that they had made into a beer tap. And so I called the ad agency and I said, guys, I don't think this is going to be a fit in my magazine. Because the people who read my magazine love North Carolina, and that's a North Carolina icon, and they're not going to think that that is the right thing to do. And the ad agency, as you can imagine, said, oh no, this is great, everybody loves it, and it's terrific, and it's really wonderful. And I said, well, it may be wonderful, but it's not going to be in my magazine. He said to me, if you don't run this ad, you will never, ever get another piece of business from us again. And they were right. We have never gotten business from them. But I think you have to stand for what you feel is right. And I think you have to say, hey, this is not a fit. I don't want anything to be jarring, to stand out in a negative way. I think you have to say, sorry, lost it, but we feel that we did the right thing. Chip was mentioning our current issue, which is kind of interesting. It is about the 50 most significant events in the history of North Carolina. And this was a hard one, because our editor didn't want to just sit down and say, I'm going to make these 50, because there's so many different things that you could say are significant. So what we did, we went to 22 different historians, and we have their pictures here, North Carolina historians, and we asked them to give us what they think is their 50 most significant days in the history of North Carolina. Now, what's interesting is the fact that you may remember the gentleman who's often called the education governor, Governor Jim Hunt. He found out that we were going to do this story. So what he did, he has the Hunt Institute in Raleigh, and he has sent a letter to 2,500 school principals with a copy of this story for them to offer to their 4th and 8th grade classes so that they can have that as a teaching vehicle. And I was so flattered that Governor Hunt would do that. But he felt that was a part of what he believes in, and that is the education of North Carolina children. So, question then is, how do we continue to get more? How do we grow from 23,000? We've done a number of different things. One of the things, when I was in radio, we used to have remote broadcasts where you'd have a girl in a bikini handing out ice cream at a used car lot. You'd do any stupid thing to try to get people to come over. So I went to the general manager of the Grove Park Hotel in Asheville, a gentleman by the name of Craig Madison. And I said, Craig, I'd like to put on an event here that would really show off North Carolina. We'd have North Carolina music, North Carolina lectures, North Carolina food. And he looks at me for a long time. He says to me, That is the dumbest idea I have ever heard. He says, it's so dumb that the only time I'd even let you in my hotel is the first week in January. That's our worst week. In fact, we often think of closing entirely because I got 510 rooms and they are totally empty. There's nothing you can do to screw it up. Go ahead. So for 21 years, we have been doing this Best of Our State event in Asheville, and now we just moved it to Pinehurst because there's some new owners of the Grove Park Hotel. But in any event, here was the funny part of the story, is that Craig Madison goes around to hotel conventions and he tells other hotels how to fill their rooms in January. Whatever works. Part of the fun, as Chip mentioned, has been to have our magazine expanded on other vehicles. The TV show we're so proud of. Public television does a great job. And we've won, as Chip mentioned, 16 Emmy Awards for this show. It's on tonight, on Thursday night, and it's really exceptionally well done. We also have done trips. We also do a lot of other things. So, in a world in which most print has been losing circulation, almost anything you want you can have free on your computer screen. Greensboro newspaper and papers all over the country keep losing circulation. Other magazines keep losing circulation. People are not paying for it. As of this morning, we have 173,000 paid subscribers. We have more paid subscribers than any daily newspaper in the state of North Carolina. And we are second only to Texas Monthly as the #2 statewide magazine in America. So, you know, people say, well, how are you doing that? What are you doing? What's the secret sauce? Warren Buffett always says he likes to buy a business that has a secret sauce. What's the secret sauce? Well, I'm going to tell you what the secret sauce is. And you know it yourself. We North Carolinians love where we live. I have a friend who has a magazine called New Jersey Life. People live in New Jersey, but they don't love it. We are proud of our history. We're proud of the beauty. We're proud of our fellow North Carolinians. And each month, what we try to do is just hold up a mirror and let you see the pride of where you live. Thank you very much.